us we have Chef Shaun Leonard from Switzerland, from BHSM. So,
hydrate, and this of course is burning or caramelizing with the fat in the pan with the heat. This we call the Maillard reaction. And chefs talking science. Food is always science. It's just we think about it as natural processes, and this is also a natural process. So this caramelization of carbohydrates, the Maillard reaction, is frying and colouring all the carbohydrates in the foods. The more carbohydrates, the quicker it turns colour. And this is the same with our potato, lots of carbohydrates, so therefore there's a lot of colouring happening very quickly. So it burns very quickly if you're not watching. So if you're frying, for example, a class A potato and a class C potato, so the waxy or the floury one will brown quicker. So that's why we shouldn't mix them together. Because there's more carbohydrates inside, more starch, and therefore it caramelizes quicker. So this one here, we have our butter inside, we have our potato inside, and the fat is necessary to make sure it cooks. We get a bit of colour, and the fat is also cooking the rest of the potatoes, making that caramelly outside. Put a bit extra in there because I like the butter. And clarified butter we use instead of normal melted butter or normal butter, because normal butter has a lot of things inside, like for example, it has water inside, it has starch inside, it has carbohydrates inside, it has milk fat inside, and therefore these things react differently when you heat them. And when you heat butter with a rushdi, you're frying. And generally when you're frying at about 120, 130 degrees Celsius. And this process is, this process of course is okay when you're frying with oil. And we know in the Indian kitchen we like to fry with some spices at the beginning before we start cooking, or we're making a dal and we're frying our spices and put them in last minute. And the spices you need to fry in oil because you need a high temperature. If you just did in normal butter, it would burn the butter. Because the butter burns at 130 degrees, 120, 130. But the caramelizing only happens at 140, between 120 or maybe 140. Therefore, we need to have the butter getting hotter, a hotter temperature. Therefore, we need to remove all of the milk proteins and the carbohydrates in the water by clarifying the butter, or cooking the butter until it becomes clear, making ghee. And then afterwards, we can use this as a replacement for oil because it has much more flavor. So that's why we're using the clarified butter instead of normal butter. And that's why we cook the potatoes 80% before we mix all the things together and put them inside the pan. Because a lot of chefs just say, just take the potato, grate it up, mix it with some seasoning and put it in the pan. But it will be different, because it won't be soft in the middle, because the potato will try and cook, but it won't cook properly because the bottom is sealed, and the steam generated in the middle is not enough to cook the potato fully. That's why we have to half cook them or 3/4 cook them before we start preparing the food. Right, so food on there. Potatoes take a while to cook. But the thing is, we can't rush this. We can't rush this because we have, it's like quickly frying, What's the quick fry in Indian, in Hindi? Jalfrezi, yeah? Yeah, quick fry. So, we're not making jalfrezi rushdi, yeah? We're making rushdi. So, sometimes you just have to put it in the stove, let it cook, take time, and then we can talk about other things. Or do other jobs, because in the kitchen we're never bored, right? We've always got things to do. Is that right, chefs? Yeah. So, that's cooking away. It's not okay, right? Butter and potato, great combination. So, I don't forget about that. You'll be keeping an eye on that, right? While we do that, who might have some questions for me while that's cooking? About anything to do with cookery? Or who would like to tell me something about who got them interested, like they're interested in cookery? Yes, tell me. Anything about food, cookery?
So, about this only.
Yes.
So, generally hash browns goes as an accompaniment, right?
Correct.
But is it our main course dish which we are making today?
Well, you decide. I mean, sometimes, for example, We have pieces, okay. So we have, you can eat this main course, absolutely you can. And we do in Switzerland. We eat this at tables, is also one of those things eaten all times of the day. Breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time. You can eat it as a starch accompaniment on a main course. So we always have, traditionally in most parts of the cultures of the world, we have our carbohydrate, we have our vegetable, we have our protein. That could be, for example, in Indian cuisine, that could be some rice and bread, and your dal, those your protein, and then you have vegetable curries and the go with the bread. In Europe, we have, I don't know, a piece of meat or a piece of fish, or a piece of vegetable protein, and carbohydrate, and then of course some vegetables to go with that.
So generally we serve with the roasted which you are making.
Yeah, so this one we could normally make this big, and you might cut a piece like a quarter, and serve a quarter full an accompaniment. Right? Yeah. And then we have, you can cut this into a quarter, it's like a piece of cake if you like, on your plate, and then you have your Zurich veal stew, which we have a lot of veal in Switzerland. I'll come to that in a second. And then we have veal stew and that broccoli, so it's a traditional dish. But also you can eat the whole thing with some ham and some cheese melted on the grill, fried egg on top. This is like a mountain breakfast. That keeps you going the whole day. And also you can eat it as a snack in the evening. You know, so it's eaten actually quite a lot in Switzerland, in many different courses and many different times of the day. So that's your question. First of all, questions. You get chocolate. First question for me. Anything about cookery or anything? Food? Culinary industry? Culture? Well, I like, sometimes I look in the cupboard and see what I have. Like, for example, I've got some pieces of little bits of air-dried, we have a lot of air-dried meats in Switzerland. So, obviously in the summertime we have a lot of fresh meat, fresh vegetables, when it's nice and hot and sunny, like it is here in Kolkata. And then we eat those, of course, because they're available. And then the winter time, we never had the opportunity to grow things, because this is cold, it's sometimes snow, and therefore it's impossible to grow things. So we preserve things, so preserving vegetables, preserving fruits, preserving fish, preserving meat by smoking, drying, salting, pickling, all those things that we do. And these, you see these European cooking videos with all these things, pickled, smoked, and everything else. All this. Because in winter we didn't have the opportunity to eat things fresh. So it's indigenous to our cuisine. And then we have this lovely opportunity to make this a very special type of marination process, salting process, pickling process, smoking process. And the air-dried meats, we can salt them and cure them. We can hang them inside these little mountain chalets, which the humidity is controlled, and they have this wonderful Swiss air around them, drying them. And of course they're getting smaller as some of the moisture is evaporating over the time. And then after a period of a few months, we have the meats, which we can slice really, really thinly because they become really hard. So you have to slice them really thin, like you have those like Italian Parma ham. And then you eat those with, so you get lots of portions from a piece of meat. And then you can, or cheese, again we age cheese, and then of course you can put it on a platter, and we eat that during the winter time. And then preserve vegetables and stuff. So who has a, that's the location for yes. Well, this is for you guys, not for me, not for the Indian food one of you. But we have, so we have that potato rosti, we have it different times of the day. So we eat that with a veal stew, normally, veal stew. Veal, of course, is not always eaten everywhere in the world, but it's a meat that we have a lot of because we have a lot of animals in that part of the world. And the veal we eat as a young tender meat, so it cooks very quickly, and we eat this with nice fried. We can replace it with chicken, for example. And the process of making this stew, you think of stew, cooks for hours, right? But this stew cooks, it's an aluminium stew that cooks very quickly. And what we do is we just take the stew, the onions, nicely cut like the ones we have here, small dice, some nice little button mushrooms, nice slices, frying those off, reducing all the moisture and getting them, and allowing them to slightly caramel, a slight Maillard reaction, but not too much, not too brown, not too quickly, not too jalfrezi. Take it easy. And then afterwards a little bit of seasoning, And then what we can do is we can fry off some chicken, and then we can put that inside, and then we can put a little bit of brown sauce inside, and then we can put a little bit of cream inside, and let it cook for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then serve it with our roshni and boiled broccoli. Broccoli just cooked al dente, nice and crunchy, in salted water, so it takes on flavour, preserves the colour. Then afterwards put it into some cold water to refresh, to stop the colour loss, because the colour is important. Green vegetables should be green when we serve them in the European kitchen. And then we can do some sliced almonds, cooked in some clarified butter. We serve that on top of your broccoli to enhance the flavour. Because like I tell my students as well, what we've got to remember is European food, sometimes people say, oh, European food is, we want to learn it, we want to taste it, that kind of stuff, but it's a bit bland, I like it spicy, I like it a bit hot, you know. But if we look at the essence of European food and we understand a little bit about where it comes from, then we understand more about it. People, the rest of the world, they don't understand Indian cuisine, not that I do either, but getting the balance of spices for a dal is an art. It's not something you just take a few of this, bit of this, bit of this, and fry it and hope for the best. It doesn't work. Trust me, I've tasted my mother-in-law's cookery. But if you are, she's not Indian, that's why. But if you, the right balance of spices, this is something you need to learn. And in European kitchens, it's not different. But the difference for what we do is, in European food, there is not this competition for flavour like we have in other cuisines. It's not like 10 very flavoursome things that we're mixing together which all complement each other because they're very intense. But it's the other way around. If my main dish is potato, then I have to enhance the flavour of a potato, which is an art in itself, by putting things in that enhance the flavour without removing or overpowering the flavour. And if I'm going to make a chicken breast, then I have to do everything I can to increase the flavour of the chicken breast without overpowering the chicken breast, so that when I eat it, I can taste the chicken. And that's by putting tiny bits of garlic, and small amounts of seasoning, a little bit of fresh thyme, a little bit of sauteed onions, and then you taste it with the chicken, and of course the flavour is enhanced. And that's what we're trying to do with all ingredients. It's enhancing or complementing the flavour, as opposed to competition for flavour. And that's the difference between most indigenous cuisines around the world and Northern European food, I would say. So therefore, hopefully we're enhancing the flavour of the potato. So we've got to get a nice bit of colour on there. It's that excitement, isn't it? Is it getting too much colour? Is it not enough colour? It's a little bit of it. It's always a little bit exciting, but don't worry, we're okay. It's a little good, a little good. You need to burn this one? It doesn't worse than the burn one. You've got to give it another shape and see what it can turn out. So normally when you make it like this, of course the potatoes are beautifully grated. But when you make it with the roshni grater, the grains are a bit thicker, so it stays a bit more sort of flaky, but in terms of flavour-wise, it'll be fantastic. So, then we've got the roshni, then we've got the veal stew. And then we have, of course, what else we have? Cheese. Anyone like cheese? I'm in the part of the world where everyone likes dairy products, right? Everyone eats, a lot of people eat dairy products, a lot of people eat cheese, right? Cheese, curd, all those things. And of course the cheese in Switzerland is very famous, right? Normally, around the world. And chocolates. Ironically with the chocolate, obviously there are no cocoa plantations in Switzerland. Right? Cocoa is not growing in Switzerland. Where does cocoa grow? Someone wants a chocolate. South Africa?
Brazil?
In Africa, yes, but not in South Africa. Zimbabwe probably have some small ones, but what did you say before?
Belgium?
Belgium? No cocoa plantations in Belgium.
Brazil?
Brazil, yes. So all along, where's Brazil? Along the equator. All along the equator. As well, your coffee and cocoa is grown. From Brazil, which is one of the biggest food producers of the world, all the way across Central and East Africa, and across Indonesia. They have a lot of and of course India as well. You have the possibility to grow these things like cocoa, tobacco, tea, and coffee. All these things grow in this climate, right? Tea. You don't know Tea is also growing in different parts of the world. But we have, of course, this wonderful cocoa growing around, but it's not in Switzerland. So how come chocolate is famous in Switzerland?
Manufacturing.
Sorry?
Manufacturing.
It's what, sorry?
Manufacturing.
The manufacturing. So I'm thinking, chocolate. What do I have to add to chocolate, cocoa, to make chocolate? So I'm going to make milk chocolate. What do I have to add to cocoa? Oh, there we go. Another one is chocolate. So I have to add milk chocolate. And milk chocolate is the most famous chocolate in Switzerland. Of course, you can get ruby chocolate, dark chocolate, and different concentrates of cocoa inside each chocolate. But the milk chocolate is probably the most famous one in Switzerland, right? So if I have to add milk to the cocoa to make milk chocolate, we're getting to the secret now of why Switzerland's chocolate is so good. It's because of the milk.
For the girls.
Yes. Not only do they look cute, and they let them stroke, you let them stroke them, but they also produce fabulous milk because the air is very clear and very clean. We have wonderful green rolling hills, and we don't have lawnmowers. We have cows. And they are the best lawnmower because they know how much to take off without taking too much, and no one needs cutting again. And it could be day or night. You don't have to always say, oh, cut the grass again. The cow is there. It's the job for you. Yeah. No electricity. Win-win. Yeah. So it's green, literally, the grass, and it's a green tool for cutting the green grass. So we have a cow eating the grass, and this grass is growing in this fresh air in Switzerland, is producing the most amazing quality of milk. And they're eating the grass, and inside what happens is the cow eats the grass. The grass is green, right? What makes grass green? Chlorophyll. Oh, you're good. It's a biology school here also. Chlorophyll. And chlorophyll, there's something strange happens to chlorophyll when it's eaten by a cow. You know what that is? I don't know, just checking if you know already. When you have a green thing that's eaten by a cow, the chlorophyll turns to carotene inside a cow's stomach. And carotene is what makes a carrot a different colour to green. We get green carrots, we get red carrots, we get orange carrots, we get purple carrots, we get all kinds of different kinds of carrots. But it's the strain or concentration of carotene inside the carrot which gives it its colour. So in India we have a lot of carotene in the carrots because they're quite red. And in Northern Europe they're quite orange, a little bit less carotene. But it doesn't affect the flavour at all, it just makes it a different colour. It doesn't change the consistency, it's exactly the same. So the carotene is then going orange or yellow inside the milk. So fresh milk made with good quality grass, which has been eaten by the cows, which is green, is yellow. Slightly yellow. Milk should be slightly yellow when it's fresh from the cow. Then they've eaten green grass. And with this yellow milk, we then make cheese by mixing with the rennet and heating, more waiting, and cutting into what we call our curd. You call curd like a yogurt, but we call curd this curd and whey. Remember Little Miss Muffet, the milkman's daughter, lifting out the cheesemaker's daughter, lifting out the curd and the whey is left over. The whey, have you ever tried the whey? It's the best thing for cleaning anything your face. The whey. Oh, cheesemakers' hands like babies. They're retiring with hands like babies. It's very good. All the pharmaceutical companies use the whey for all the skincare products. So it's the best thing you can do to rub on your face. It smells so great. But if you have bad skin or dry skin or a couple of spots or something, wash with whey for 2 weeks, boom, gone. And a lot cheaper than some of those skincare products. Although I do like a bit of Fair and Lovely. So we have the whey left over, and we drink this also. It's also good for athletes. Any athletes in the room? Chef at the back. Yeah. Athletes drink this because it stops when you're doing exercise. It stops you getting, when you do exercise sometimes, or walking down the stairs, my knees, or my hips, you get the achy joints. You don't get that when you drink whey. So there's a lot of athletes drink whey for that reason. Right, let's put it down. I'm going to turn that over now. if you have a pan which sticks a little bit, right? Sometimes you get a pan that's a bit sticky. I'm coming. You get a pan that's a bit sticky. What you can do is you can put a piece of baking paper on the bottom of your pan and cook the rusty normally. And then it also eliminates this problem of trying to flip it over, because you can take the paper out, the paper sitting up like this, pull the paper onto the plate, turn it over, and then put it back inside, so it's a bit safer. And also stops it from sticking if the pan is a little bit sticky. So you can also do this with a pan which is not brand new or a bit sticky, using paper in the bottom. Also recommend this for you frying a piece of fish. We're going to fry a piece of fish with a skin in a pan, put a piece of baking paper on the bottom, and then the oil on top. The paper won't burn. You put your fish on top and the skin stays on the fish, so just a little tip. So, where were we? Cows. So that's eating the cows. So just that off there. Have you got a touch on here? Can I borrow that off? Right, so we have a little bowl here. So normally we have the pan, which is just nicely on top of that. We'll just do a flip over. Everybody stay calm. We have a rosti. Starting to look like the one in Switzerland, right? Looks like the one in Switzerland. Right, let me put that back inside the pan like that. See that smooth transition? No risk, no fun. So we put that back inside there now, and we let that cook. So we get a nice colour on the other side.
Is it supposed to get that dark?
Yes. Yes. This is not burnt. This is a beautiful caramelization colour. Yeah. It needs to be dark. Anything lighter in colour is not going to have the same effect in terms of flavour. Now I'll make the plain one first, then afterwards I'll make this one. Is that okay? How long are you here with me? 6 hours? So we have, so we have, what else we got? We've got the cheese, so the cheese making, the way the cheesemaker's daughter, the wonderful whey that we drink for athletes. And then we have the curd, which we then mix with a bit of salt, press into a mould, and then it's put inside a salt bath, and then we store it in the cellar. And in the cellar we store it for up to 8 months, and it becomes a wonderful sort of half-hard cheese mixture we have. And this is the one we have in Switzerland, which we put on top of the rosti and that kind of stuff. Now, Swiss cheese. Apart from the colour, apart from the milk quality, what makes this cheese then different to other cheeses? Because France makes a lot of cheese. Holland produces more cheese than Switzerland. In England they produce a lot of cheese in those European countries. Lots of parts of Eastern Europe produce a lot of cheese. Parts of the Mediterranean they're making those Italian cheeses. Italy produces a huge amount of cheese. Parmesan, right? In France you're making manchego, sorry, in Spain you're making manchego. So lots of different famous cheeses everywhere. So what is the difference between the Swiss cheese and all those other cheeses?
Swiss cheese has holes.
It has holes. Oh my God, it has holes. They're cheating us. They're taking pieces out. Someone is sitting with a little scoop and making little holes in it, right? The cheese holer. What do you do for a living? I'm a cheese holer. So how do they do that?
It's because of carbon dioxide.
It's because of carbon dioxide. But how does the carbon dioxide get in there? But why isn't this in other cheeses? Why doesn't it have the French cheese? Why doesn't it have the Dutch cheese? Why doesn't it have the Spanish or Italian cheese? There must be a reason, surely. Let's go. How many do? So, why do you think that is? Have you learned about this process? No? There is these other schools over here which you teach. Let's get the So we have the cheese in Switzerland is very special because Switzerland is the only country in the world to have 95 to 98% of all cheeses which are made from what we call raw milk, true milk. All of the countries have pasteurized milk for making cheese. And in Switzerland we have unpasteurized milk for making cheese, which is not without its hazards, because of course unpasteurized milk means that you have bacteria inside the milk which are good, and bacteria which are bad. So we need to get rid of the bad ones. And what happened is a very clever Frenchman called Louis Pasteur, many years ago, he came up with this idea that bad bacteria in any dairy products are heavier than good bacteria. And they created a machine called a centrifuge. And the centrifuge, you put your liquids inside, and it spins like one of those red cars from Italy, on full revs in top gear, even quicker. And what happens, all the bacteria gets separated. And when they measure, they do this to a dairy farm. They put the milk through a centrifuge, and when they will measure that the good bacteria are being eradicated from the milk, they stop the centrifuge process. And then with this milk, they make the cheese. So it's not being cooked, it's not being pasteurized, but it's safe to consume as cheese because the bad bacteria has been removed in the centrifuge. So what happens is you've got good bacteria, because when you pasteurize milk, you remove all the bad bacteria, but you also remove the good bacteria. This is hindering flavor, texture, and holes. So with the good bacteria inside the cheese, and we are following the normal processes like everyone else does, like in France and Belgium and Holland and everywhere else, in the UK and Italy and Spain. You're making the cheese in the cellar where it's storing the bacteria is inside. And it's the good bacteria. And it's germinating. And it has nowhere to escape. So it's going and making holes. And they're completely random. We don't know how big or how small or where there will be the cheese. But a good cheesemaker will know how to make a cheese that hopefully they get turning it and brushing it every day, so that we get even spread of holes inside the cheese. And they measure that, of course, but they can't control it. It's a natural process. In fact, in some parts of the world, in North America, they stopped the import of Swiss cheese for a while because they said the holes were too big. But how can you measure that? How can you change that, right? And she's ready to serve. And up slightly again. See here how you warm it up? You let it cool down and warms it up again. I want it to cook, and then the residual cooking time, the cooking phase when it's sitting in the hot pan and still getting colour and still flavour still going in. You know, relax. And then afterwards it gets a bit heavier in the pan, so I need to warm it up slightly to remove it. I'm not cooking it further, I'm warming up to remove it. So, anyone doesn't know the settings on here, we have like dishes on the settings. So we'll go a little bit. Then we'll do the other one, yeah. Okay. This one you need to cook in advance. You can't put that inside with the potato inside the pan because it'll stick a little bit. It's not going to cook properly. And an onion, a raw onion, there's only limited flavour there. When I'm frying and get the Maillard reaction, it tastes nice, right? When we put on all our dishes, we put some nice white onions inside. Nice fried onions on top, and it gives flavour because that's what it's from. So we do the same with the rushtis. So the bacon and the rushtis there, bacon and the onions are inside there. We put them inside the pan with our potato, or put them in the bowl with our potato, but they're pre-cooked, and then we can fry it on both sides like we did this one. There we go. So just trying to do a little bit of that. Try and get it out. Nice. It's not going to be my best friend today, is it? Do something differently. Fold them here, fold them here. Yours as well. Okay. Just going to that one there. So you go on to the other side, all you've got to do, so there's a lot of flipping going on. So we have a nice rush. Other side. There's our first one. You're up, hitting it. So we do the second one. That's the best bits. Okay with this. So, now we make the next one. You want to do it, chef? Should I put some potatoes inside? Learning by doing. What was the best way? I'd say half of that. You notice we put quite a lot of potato inside. People make little ones. Make a nice big one, eat it like a cake. She's easy. It's okay. On your way home today, you can buy some potatoes in the market. You go home tonight and say, Mum, I'm going to make you a little Swiss rosti. Yeah? You put some salt and pepper in. Now when you're working with the bacon one, put a little bit less salt in, because obviously the bacon's a bit salty and want the balance, right? But pepper's always good. White pepper is a wonderful flavour. A little bit more butter. I like butter. Too much. Gently mix it together without breaking it as much as possible. The second one will go quicker, slightly, because the pan is already heated all the way through, right? So that's a normal process as well. It's like making pancakes. You make the first one, takes 5 minutes. Then I say, okay, let's shoot. You make the next pancake. Oh shit, it's already burning. And then we just, same as before, pop it in there like that. Let it get a bit of colour before you're going to get it. So, Swiss chocolate, Swiss cheese, that's how it gets the holes. What else do we have in Switzerland that we don't want a lot of? Excuse me, sorry? Swiss watches. Swiss watches we have a lot of, yeah. What else do we have a lot of in Switzerland? Swiss rolls. Yeah, you like Swiss? How do you make a Swiss roll? Push them down the hill. So we have, what else do we have in Switzerland? A lot of snow. What else is Switzerland famous for? Watches. Anything else Switzerland's famous for?
Nice.
Oh, knives, okay. Knives, Swiss Army knife, right? We have a lot of Swiss Army knives in Switzerland, and also Victorinox, the famous knife producer. We have all of our students get a nice Victorinox knife set. They're studying with us at BHMS. It's a really qualitative tool. But watches, I've seen watches on the market down the street. They're a lot cheaper than the ones in Switzerland. I've seen also knives on some parts of the world which are also a lot cheaper than Switzerland. Banks also, yeah. Banks aren't cheaper. But I'm wondering what makes those things like the knives, the watches, and those things which are not specifically edible, but also the things that are edible, like the chocolate and the cheese. What makes those things more famous in Switzerland than other countries? Because other countries are always producing these things, right? Football is not so famous, right? Well, they produce the milk and stuff, not the cocoa. They don't produce the steel, you're right. But what makes those products specifically, what's that one word that links all of them together? It begins with a Q. France begins with a B. What's that one word with Q that links all those things together, that you all strive for in life and look for in life? Quality. Quality. Quantity. Someone said quantity. That's wrong. Yeah, it's also something we strive for in life, right? Quality. It's that qualitative nature. Because all around, everywhere in the world you go, you can get a knife, you can get a watch, you can get, you can get chocolate. But the qualitative nature of those products in Switzerland is very, very high. They make them there on purpose. Now, we have the knives, we have the watches and stuff, and qualitative nature is very high, no doubt about that. And that comes because what happened was we had about 140 years ago, we had something called the Industrial Revolution. Have you heard of that? You know that in history at school? You were sleeping through that one, yeah. You remember it, so you've got to pay attention now, because you're not sleeping and you're standing up. I'm going to give you a history lesson. So what happened was, it's very important, it has a profound effect on the country Switzerland, believe it or not. And all those things that we make, cheese, chocolate, watches, knives, revolutionized through nothing. It's true. By doing nothing, you industrialize a revolution, or revolutionize an industry. So the Industrial Revolution happened 140 years ago, and the history lesson should be making Russian. And what happened was, we made the factory. Yeah? And back then, we made people go to factories and work in them. We didn't ask them, we just told them. And they worked in the factory, and everyone left the villages and the towns to go to the towns to work in factories to make things. And you were making the knives, you're making the watches, no longer by hand, but by machine. And you can produce many more. The quality is okay. But you can produce a lot. And then you sell more, make more money. And then Switzerland said, whoa. Just buying that back a bit. Everyone leaves the villages and goes to towns. What's going to happen to our animals mowing the grass? Who's going to look after them? We can't have that. So they stopped the Industrial Revolution ever coming to Switzerland. Never happened. So when you look at pictures of Switzerland 150 years ago in the village, it's still the same now. I mean, it's not black and white. But in terms of how people live. And the Industrial Revolution all over the world, big factories, making lots of money, also producing a lot of industry and a lot of bad air quality, had a profound effect on those things that we're eating. And then what happened was, the people of Europe said, oh, here it's a little bit, not so nice air quality, and here it's busy, and people in the towns and cities, people are working in the factories. I want to go on holiday somewhere, but we don't have that. So right in the middle of Europe, that little island, Switzerland, because they didn't have the Industrial Revolution, they never had that problem. So people then started going there on vacation. All the factory owners spending lots of money. This in turn created a huge tourism economy in Switzerland. So by doing nothing, you revolutionized the industry. And the qualitative nature of Swiss knives and watches was like this. And most of Europe went like this. Quantity went up, quality went down. And Europe and Switzerland stayed the same. So then people were going, I wish I could get a knife like we used to get, handmade, qualitative Victorious knife, the Swiss one. You can't go to Switzerland. I wish I could get a handmade watch. Yes, they cost more, last forever. Beautiful. You see that? You still do it today. So that's why they've created this aura of qualitative nature of products. And also continue to do what they had done over 100 years ago, for the sake of the cow eating the grass, looking after the landscape, because we have no lawnmowers, there were no hills in those days, and therefore we had, through the Industrial Revolution, made huge gains and created a tourism hub, because it's located in the middle of Europe, and people can travel from all over to go to Switzerland. That's how it will happen. It sounds crazy, but it's true. So by doing nothing, he created a huge industry of tourism, hospitality, and qualitative nature of everything that we serve. And of course, when people come to want to spend money, they want to eat well, they want to drink well, they want chefs, they want people in hospitality. This has not changed. And the country itself is still a hub of people travelling from all over the world to look for their Swiss watch. We have, for people who go to Switzerland, yeah, I want to see Swiss watch, I want to buy a knife, I want to buy a watch, or I want to buy a knife, I want to eat the cheese, I want to have fondue, and I want to have it like there, because the environment like it is of course a little different as well. Things taste better in different environments. So it's a huge, huge industry. And qualitative nature as well. Therefore, it's great for studying, it's great for living, it's great for understanding the culture, how things are produced, and therefore how to achieve that qualitative nature of things that you're looking for. Right? So that's a little bit about sort of the country as such and how it became sort of from a peasant country, like most countries in Europe at the time, became a huge industrial power, basically basing an economy on tourism and the export of milk and cheese and chocolate. quite crazy. It actually happened. So Switzerland. It's probably, I don't know how big the state of where we are now in Bengal, West Bengal. I don't know how big West Bengal is, but it's probably half the size of Switzerland, I'm sure. Switzerland's not a very big country. Yes, we can drive a little bit quicker on the roads, but I think, you know, we drive on the motorway from Geneva all the way to St. Gallen, which is like that. We can do that in about 4.5 hours. The entire country. How many people live in West Bengal? How much the population? I don't know. I'm hoping you can tell me. It's too much. Population, too much. What's the population in West Bengal? Can you tell me? How many, sorry? 11 crores. So you've got to help me with that. I need a calculator. 11 crores. How many crores? How many millions are a crore again? Thousands? My God. My God. Feeling too much of this. My God. So in Switzerland, what's the population in Switzerland? The entire country, you know? Have a guess. It's definitely less. That's right. Sorry? So there's more than a million. There is, I want to have a guess, more than a million, less than a billion. Somewhere in the middle. Can I have a guess? 51, 50 million? Oh no. 25? No. 10 million lower. Higher. 7.1 million. 7.1 million. Oh, 8, sometimes 7.18 million, you know, but it's growing like every population here also. So soon it won't be too much, it'll be too much. So we have about 7.1, 7.4 million people, you know, goes up and down, but about 7 million people in the country. And there are loads of tiny country with a small population. There's also a few languages spoken. What languages do you speak in Switzerland? English? French? Correct? Well, what other language do you speak in Switzerland? We don't speak Swiss, do we? No. Swiss. Italian? Speak Italian in Switzerland? Yes, they do. It's a national language. French is a national language. Italian is a national language. Spanish is not a national language, but there are people who speak Spanish. But there's 2 more national languages. You're very impressed we get both. Polish, no. English, no. It's not a national language, but it's widely spoken through the entire country, English, because it's the international language of the world. Whether we like it or not, that's how it is. So, we have to speak English. So we speak English as the unspoken 5th language, but the 4 national languages, definitely Italian, definitely French. There's 2 more. German, well done. So German is also the most prolific language in Switzerland. And there's 1 more. No? And that's one you don't get. If you get it, you get 2 chocolates. Now they're over the phones. National languages of Switzerland. Okay, the final language, a language called Romansh. Now he's telling me stories. It's true. There's a language spoken by 1% of the population, so there's 7 million people in the country, so how many is that? So, definitely less than a million. So 1% of 7 million is definitely less than a million. Right? There's a few thousand people speaking this Romansh language only. They live in the eastern part of Switzerland. They also speak German, because it's in the German quarter. But they also speak their own mountain language. It's based on Latin, believe it or not. Still speak it. And they continue to speak it, not because they need it for anything else but speaking themselves, but like everything else, culture, right? Whether you're here in West Bengal, whether you're in Switzerland, culture you must treasure. Culture we must not go over the top, but we must treasure and we must care for our culture. Because our history and our culture is what makes us today. So we have the Romansh language, but they all speak German as well. So we have those main languages. In the Switzerland itself, the eastern part and the north part is where they speak German. I'd say about 65% of the entire country is purely German speaking. And then about 10% or 15%, maybe even 18% is the French speaking part. And there's the rest of it is 10-15% is the Italian speaking part. Okay? So there's German speaking, French speaking, then Italian speaking, in that order of spoken languages that are much for the German speaking part, of course, they all learn the other languages as well. They learn French, they learn English in the schools, and then the French part, they're learning German, they're learning English, and they're learning Italian. So everyone's kind of speaking each other's languages, so you're walking through the streets and hearing French and German and Italian and English everywhere. And of course the school we use only English, apart from the language classes. And otherwise we are having a lot of languages, so it's kind of a nice, even though it's a small country, you've got this wonderful multicultural exchange taking place with cultures, people. And even though you're driving a short distance from one state to another, the houses change, the flora and fauna changes. It's quite profound in such a short space, because here you could fly for an hour and things might look similar. Maybe not the north, but if you look east to the west or whatever, not to the east either, not to the west, right? Flying out to the east, everything gets watery. But if you're staying inland, you're travelling for a period of time, most things stay similar, but it's just that things change every 100 kilometres, which isn't very enough, 85 miles. So it's not the same everywhere. So it's quite cool, and it's nice that the students are there. They take the advantage of going to see different parts of the country, all in like 40 minutes on the train, you know. You have to sit inside the train, by the way. We are then travelling to, you know, different cities. So it's Lucerne is where the school is. And if Switzerland's right in the middle of Europe, then Lucerne is definitely in the middle of Europe, because it's in the middle of Switzerland, right in the middle. So from there you can travel an hour by train to Basel, the big city, or an hour by train to Zurich, an hour by train to Bern, and most importantly for the students and weekends, 2 hours by train to Milan, you know. So we're very well connected to the rail networks, which you probably learned from the Indians, to connect all the different countries surrounding. So what countries surround Switzerland? France, Germany, Italy, actually, because those are the languages, right? So, but there are more. Can you get them all? So we didn't get all the languages, we didn't miss the much. What other language? Put your phones down, no Googling it. Sorry? Romania? No, Romania is a bit further to the east of the Black Sea. Egypt? Belgium? Egypt, neither. But Belgium is it's very close. It's very close, but not Belgium's a little sort of sandwich between Luxembourg and France and Germany and Holland. It doesn't quite touch Switzerland. So I've got Germany, France, Italy. 2 more countries border Switzerland. Budapest is the capital city of Hungary. Hungary doesn't border Switzerland. Hungary borders Slovenia, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, and Austria, and Italy. Yes?
Sir, what is the difference in emmental cheese other than cheese?
I'm sorry?
What is the difference in emmental cheese?
Emmental cheese. So I'll explain that to you. But first we get the 2 countries. So, what are the 2 countries border Switzerland? Austria, very good. Austria is the other country which borders Switzerland, and one more, which you probably won't get. Sorry? Croatia, no. It's close, but no. Hungary, no. I mean, I'm hungry, but not hungry. One more country. Sorry? Spain, no. I'm pleased we're not using Google to find out, because you probably will, if you don't use Google, you'll never find out. If you Google it, you'll find out. Shall I tell you? I don't know how many. So it's a country called Liechtenstein. But who cares, Chef? Who cares? Liechtenstein is also a very small country, like really small. Like if you drive for 10 minutes, you're through it. I'm not kidding. There are these little small countries. One is Luxembourg. That's relatively big in comparison to Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is a country. It's really, really tiny, between Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. And there's also, well, they speak it more like a Swiss German than a German. And also things like San Marino. You see in the football sometimes when San Marino play. San Marino, what the hell is that? It's a little town inside Italy, but it's some country. Crazy. That's true. So Liechtenstein is a country that borders Switzerland. You write this down for the pub quiz. When you have a pub quiz, then you're looking for which countries border Switzerland. Never get that. Guarantee winner. So Emmental cheese. So Emmental cheese is the cheese with the holes in. That's why you're asking, right? It's the cheese with the holes in. No other cheese has holes in. Why not? Because they pioneered this technique of making Emmental cheese in Emmental. It's a place. It's not a town, it's an area. And in this area, all the cheesemakers made their cheese like this style. So people from Switzerland knew if they want this type of cheese, they have to get it from here. Why don't we make it over there? Well, because the grass, the herbs, the natural flora is different. Therefore, when you're making the cheese, it tastes slightly differently. That's why when you have biryani in West Bengal, it tastes different than having Gujarat. Yeah? Because you've got different ingredients, the same but different. Right? So you've got all these different ingredients that are the same base. It's the rice, it's the saffron, it's all the same, but it's not the same. As you know, it makes the subtle difference. People say to me, oh, you don't have that here, you have that there. Because the flavour is different. I understand what you mean as a chef. And I understand that the ingredients are slightly different. Therefore, the cheese was always different. So they said in Switzerland, they made a law. Believe it or not, it's law. You're not allowed to make this type of cheese with the holes in anywhere else but this area of Emmental, Switzerland. And you're only allowed to call Emmental cheese when it's made in that area from the milk produced from the cows in that area. That's the law. So Gruyere cheese is made in Gruyere and around the surrounding villages from the milk from the cows in that area and only made there in slaughter. So that's where they get the names from the regions that they are made, and the cheese and the milk is only produced in that area. Crazy, it's true, still today. What is it? You know? The question is, why don't the cows just leave the farm and go roaming around the country? Because we've created these wonderful things called fences. And it prevents them from leaving the farm. Yeah, that's the difference. Because in Switzerland, the cows, they haven't mastered the technique of opening gates. Fortunately. Right, okay. So make sure it's not sticky and then the big flip. I left it here. Okay. So the question as well, before you mentioned about the showing that dark, remember, it's quite a thick paper. Sure. curry, right? And it's quite a thick potato cake. So if you're making a really thin one, you're cooking it this brown on both sides. Tastes too brown and fatty. When you're making a thick one, it's brown on both sides. The middle is soft and fluffy, therefore the flavour is much better, much different. You have another question?
As we all know, Switzerland is one of the most beautiful country, and we can see the people are also beautiful. So, what's the most beautiful dish as per your choice? What's one of the most beautiful dish for you?
In Switzerland, you know, I'm a simple eater. I'm a very grateful eater. When someone cooks for me, unless it's my mother-in-law, when someone cooks for me, I normally enjoy it, you know, even simple things. Simple cheese and some nice fresh bread, or some nice dried meats, or some pickles to balance. Simple rosti, you know, but freshly made. When someone makes something gladly, I always say you can taste that. And it sounds silly, but I always say you can taste that in preparation. You can taste that in the food and plate. If someone's making something put on the plate, you can taste that because they don't take care of something else. They don't take care of something slow. They don't take care of the ingredients and the things that they should do instead of crazy. Not that I don't think you're crazy, just crazy. Give me an example. And then putting it on a plate, you can taste that when it's being made quickly, not professionally. Whereas with food which is being made from the heart, this is nice. This really nice. As long as it's fresh, as long as it's from the area. That's why when I say here, when I come here, I want to try the local foods, right? I want to try those chai, because of course I want to try the local things, because we don't get those back home. And that's often I say, you know, we can practice making the rosti here, right? We make a rosti, I'm sure it tastes nice. I hope. You can tell me. But if you're making this in Switzerland, it's always a little bit different, right? It's like making biryani here, making biryani in Lucerne. We can make biryani, I make biryani at home actually. My own version, my rice cooker. It's actually a great meal to make because I can make all the things, right? Put in my rice cooker, and then afterwards I can just later on the day stick it on, sit watch telly, football. And then it cooks slowly, and then they all eat together, right? Not too much work. Preparation, yes, but not the cooking. If you're making that dish here, I'm sure it tastes a little bit different. I'm sure I'll find out later today. Whereas if you're making that dish in Switzerland, of course, you can argue, let's just say it's not as good, but it's different. And I think it's the same when making European food. When it's so defining by the ingredients we use, that when we have them in Europe and eat them in Europe, it's a little bit different. Yeah, so it's important to also understand. But that's what it is, that's how it is. But as always, humans want always a little bit more. We always want to go to Thailand and have the rosti. We want to go to be able to, we go to hotels and we are catering for our guests. And our guests want to eat all kinds of foods, all times of the day. I want to eat a burger in the middle of the night in Bangkok, and I want to eat rosti and lunchtime in Delhi and all those kind of things. And that's how we are. So we're catering for our needs. You know, we're making an industry out of catering for people's needs. And therefore it's important to realize that we're able to do these things. And knowing how to do them professionally, learning how to make a biryani in, not Gujarat, learning how to make a biryani in West Bengal, and learning how to make a rosti in Switzerland would be, of course, as an example of an important aspect of learning, should we have the opportunity, because it is a great opportunity. And we get to travel, I get to come here, you know, I wasn't always, when I started cooking, I wasn't able to travel straight away, right? I had to work hard. That's just the reality. Learning your trade, learning from as many people as you can, your lecturers, my lecturers still remain in my head, people who defined my life, lecturers, and also the people you work with in hotels, helping to produce and develop your career, your skills, and one day maybe the opportunity to travel a little bit around the world. Today's world that's possible, right? And especially in our industry opens up many doors internationally. And I advise anyone, if they like traveling, if they want to try something out, even if you're a bit skeptical, try it. You can always go home. Home is always there. But try it out, travel as much as you can, experience, and have fun, and enjoy our industry for the good elements, we shouldn't always look at our industry as only some negative connotations, because every industry has negative connotations. We look at the positives of our industry and make the most of them. And I have. And I don't regret one moment that I became a chef. I remember the day when I went home to tell my dad, I want to be a chef. You want to be a what? That's changed, right? It was a long time ago. I started cooking about 36 years ago. Good skin treatment. Very lovely. It's true. Unfortunately, because I have sort of a light coloured hair, you don't see the grey ones. Most of my friends don't have any hair. And speaking to my friends, it's the same guy. One's an architect, one's a policeman, a couple are doing other things. And they wake up in the morning and it's true, they tell me something. Sitting in front of the desk, typing on the keyboard, you know. And I get up in the morning and I have different students in my class. And we're doing one day we're cooking Russian in West Bengal, and the next day I'm cooking something else in the campus in Lucerne in Switzerland. And that's what makes it so exciting and keeps the music very lovely. If you enjoy what you do, this is what my father said to me afterwards. They said, if you really enjoy it, you must enjoy what you do because you have to do it for a lot of years. Sorry to break it to you now. But we're going to work for a few years, okay? And then we want to enjoy what we do because you spend most of our life doing it, right? So that's my little take on our industry. So one more time and then we're done with those two questions. Yeah, so that's anyone have any more questions for me? My favorite Indian food. I don't know, every day it's slightly different. There's so how many dishes do you guys have? I know from lots of India, my God. It's like every time I pick up a magazine I see a different dish. Every time I look at the food menu I see a different thing I haven't ever tried before. And I've been to India many times. We talked earlier about the different cities I've been to in India and also multiple times. Kolkata I've been a few times, and Delhi, and Mumbai, Kandala, Pune, Indore, Chennai. Been around a bit, but every time I go I get different foods, or different fillings or different components. I say wherever I am, if you go to like a restaurant and they have a specialty, that's what I'm gonna have. You know? So I like the food where I am, wherever I am, that's what I want to eat. But I must admit, I do like a dosa for breakfast. I know it's Southern Indian, but I do like a dosa for breakfast. I like that crispness, you know, and the flavour and stuff. But I also like my idli and sambar and that kind of stuff. Like everything. What I had this morning, I had chole. This morning was a chickpea curry. Chole. I like that also. Those little like puffed breads. I was like that. Because it's the combination, right? It's the bread, it's the crispiness, it's the soft, it's the richness, it's the crunch of the chickpeas, it's all the balance of things. The balance must be right. And Indian cuisine has, like most indigenous cuisines, has great balance of food. Salt, sweet, sour, texture, and I like that. Right, what else? We'll cook it. The big flip. Would you like to hear this now? This one fresh page. We'll try to. Right. So we have our two rushtis. They don't always have to be perfect, you know. You just tap it a little bit. Just make sure they're nice, all nice shape and size, and you cut them into like a wedge, and eat those like that. Now you're going to say this looks like some kind of Spanish tortilla, but in Spain they have something called a tortilla which looks very similar. There's one big difference. The tortilla is egg. It's an egg omelette with potatoes inside. But if you do the Spanish tortilla, it's the same, but it's an egg omelette. Cooked similarly, egg, potatoes and onions in a pan, cooked down with butter, or this in Spain, olive oil, and then afterwards you put your egg inside and make a big omelette basically. But it looks very similar, but that's how a rusty should be. If you go to Switzerland, hopefully movies will see one day, then you will have a rusty and it will be like that. Not like the little things you see some people making with raw potatoes and really thin and small. Nobody eats that in Switzerland. That's a rusty. Alright. More questions? Chef, can I try the rusty?
Chef, you have traveled to so many places in the world. Where did you go to the best hospital?
I say it's fantastic everywhere. Why? Because I choose where I go. Often I'm going to schools, and the people in the schools are learning the industry. And yes, they may not be able to deliver the service you get in a 5-star hotel yet, because we're still learning our industry. But it's in there. The willingness to help, participate, to support. This is why I enjoy working with young people in schools and traveling to see young people in schools, because that's, you can smell the energy and the wanting to be part of the industry, and that's important. So service delivery in that respect is always great in schools. Do we get to try these? Right? It's going to be like a mad rush at the front, and then we'll have like spoons.
Let's
I
share.
know what you did. I want you guys to eat. I know how it tastes. I used to eat in minutes of these things. Even this lukewarm, you don't have to always serve it really hot. Lukewarm is actually better. Flavor is macerated, the flavors get better. You can taste it better in the tongue palate when it's lukewarm. You heard it first,
Somebody
amazing.
wants to try?
Who would like to try it? Have anyone made these before like this?
Have we gone with hash browns but not like this?
Yeah, the hash brown is deep fried, right?
Exactly different.
And if you deep frying, you're heating it at 180 degrees, and the carbohydrates are going brown. And they're not taking on flavour, because it's going brown. You know, this one's going brown. When you go brown, you get flavour. That's why it's important to cook. You know, some things are very important deep fry. You know, you want your poppadoms crisp, right? But these things, you know, unless you go to the fast food restaurants, it's a way to fill a hole, but it's not really eating pleasure. Ash, you want to take, you should taste it.
They're too shy to try now. Once you're out,
Ah, it's too hard.
it will be more easier.
Okay, you can all die with it. Yes. Chef, would you like to come and taste the veg one? Okay, how long have you left? Should we make another one? How much time do we have? How much time do we have? Do we make another one? What time is it?
107.
Okay.
We have 5-10 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to make another one. You can make it. This is all syrup, you guys got potatoes, you got butter. Learning by doing. I will start, you have to finish.
Then we do this day ourselves.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Right, taste it. Better than the this one's great. Because it's very much. And what you do is you make these in advance, right? Make it in advance and then we'll make it. So you can make this in the morning, leave it to one side, make it in the evening. Don't make it the day before. Yeah. Good. Okay. Would you also like to try it?
I will try.
Okay.
Then just do it. Try. Anyone else to try? Would you like to try?
We have already, yeah. That was the first one.
Some people already had a small taste.